You're not going to believe what's brewing in Miami. No, seriously, this could be the wildest move of the NFL season, and if you're a Dolphins fan, you might want to sit down for this. Because reports are flying, insiders are speaking, and everything points to one insane possibility. Shad times R. Sanders to the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, that Shad times R. Sanders. The lightning rod rookie who hasn't even played a snap in the NFL, but already has half the league talking. And this isn't just Twitter gossip. This is coming from inside the building, major voices, verified reports, and a franchise in a full-blown freefall. The Dolphins are cooked. 1 win, 6 losses. And now? They're desperate. So desperate that sources say they might blow it all up just to save what's left of their season. A quarterback swap. A coaching panic. A franchise-defining gamble. On one of the most polarizing rookies we've ever seen. What happens next could either save the Dolphins or set them back an entire decade. Let's get into it. This wasn't just a loss. This was a public meltdown in front of the entire football world. The Miami Dolphins, the so-called offensive revolution of the AFC, got completely obliterated by the Cleveland Browns, and it wasn't even close. The final score was 31-6. But honestly, it felt a whole lot worse. This wasn't a bad night. This was a funeral. And Miami didn't even bother showing up. This game was supposed to be a bounce back, a statement, a chance to prove that the Dolphins still had fight left in them after a rough start to the season. Instead, they were exposed on every level: offense, defense, coaching, culture. There was nothing. No spark. No life. No identity. The Browns didn't just beat the Dolphins. They toyed with them. They game-planned perfectly, tore through Miami's defense with ease, and made Tua Tagovailoa look like a quarterback who had no idea what color jersey he was supposed to be throwing to. Cleveland looked like a playoff contender. Miami looked like they didn't belong in the same league. And let's be real, this was no fluke. Miami rolled into that game at 1-5, backed into a corner. Teams in that position usually play angry, with heart. Instead, the Dolphins played like they'd just given up. Like they knew the season was already over and they were just collecting a paycheck. The worst part? This team was hyped as one of the most explosive in the league just a year ago. They had the fastest weapons, the cleverest play caller, the genius head coach. People were talking Super Bowl window. Now, they're 1-6, at the absolute bottom of the AFC. The playoff hopes are dead. And somehow, it feels like this rock-bottom moment was years in the making. Years of ignoring the cracks. Years of trusting the wrong guys. Years of putting faith in a quarterback who crumbles under pressure and a head coach who looks more confused than creative. Everything came crashing down in Cleveland. And that 31-6 loss wasn't just another number in the L column. It was the wake-up call, the point where fans stopped hoping and started demanding answers. Because when your supposed offensive genius gets out-coached like that, and your quarterback looks like he's never seen a blitz, and your team gives up before the second quarter, you're not just losing games. You're losing the locker room. You're losing the fan base. You're losing the future. And that's why this next move, the rumored franchise-altering trade, isn't just about Shad times R. Sanders. It's about survival. After what happened in Cleveland, there's no more sugarcoating this. The Miami Dolphins offense is dead, lifeless, flatlined, completely and utterly exposed. Everything we thought we knew about this unit, the speed, the creativity, the explosiveness, all of it has vanished. What used to be the league's most electrifying offense has now become predictable, boring, and worse, beatable. And yeah, it all changed the second Tyreek Hill went down. Let's not pretend like we didn't see the shift. Before Tyreek's injury, the Dolphins were flying. They could score from anywhere on the field at any time. There was motion, misdirection, and magic. It felt like defenses couldn't keep up, like Miami was always 5 steps ahead. But with Tyreek out of the lineup, this team lost its engine. Everything that made Mike McDaniel's playbook look like cutting-edge genius, all that pre-snap motion, the layered route trees, the jet sweeps and misdirection, it's all fallen flat. Because here's the truth, Tyreek Hill was the system. He was the guy defenses feared, the one who pulled double coverage and created space for everyone else. Without him, there is no space. Without him, the fastest show on turf has turned into the slowest crawl to a 3-and-out. In the last 3 games, the Dolphins have averaged just under 14 points per game. Not red zone struggles, not bad luck on dropped passes, just pure, Uninspired, punchless football. Short throws that go nowhere, runs that get stuffed at the line, drives that stall before they even start. It's like watching a sports car without an engine. All shine, no power. And the most alarming part? Mike McDaniel doesn't seem to have a plan B. This is where the offensive wizard is supposed to earn his paycheck. When your top guy goes down, you adapt, you adjust, you scheme your way to solutions. But right now, the plays look stale. The adjustments don't exist. The system is cracking not because the league has caught up, but because the guy it was built around is no longer on the field. And the rest of the supporting cast? They're not stepping up. Jalen Waddle? Barely involved. Raheem Mostert? Can't find running lanes. Tua? We'll get to him next, but spoiler alert, he's falling apart under the pressure. This offense was never supposed to crash like this. But without Tyreek and without answers, it hasn't just stalled, it's disintegrated. And that's why some insiders are calling what comes next in Miami not a rebuild, but a reset, a total gut job. And it's all starting with the most important position on the field. Let's talk about the quarterback. Because no matter how broken the system feels, no matter how bad the play calling looks, this collapse starts under center. Tua Tagovailoa isn't in a slump. He's not just having a rough patch or working through some things. This is a full-on meltdown. Through 7 games, Tua has thrown 10 interceptions. 10. That's not an off week, that's a crisis. And when you look at the context in a quarterback-friendly offense designed to simplify reads, create easy throws, and limit turnovers, this isn't just alarming. It's damning. It's not what the Dolphins expected from a fifth-year starter. It's not what a supposed franchise guy looks like. And after the Cleveland game, it might be the final straw. Because what we saw from Tua in that game wasn't just a bad performance. It looked like a panic attack caught on national television. He looked rattled, jumping at shadows in the pocket, throwing into triple coverage, missing wide-open receivers by yards, not inches, yards. The accuracy that once made Tua a top prospect, gone. The poise and confidence Dolphins fans believed in just last year, completely vanished. You could see it in his eyes. It was like he didn't trust the system. He didn't trust his reads. He didn't trust himself. And the coaching staff saw it too, because for the first time this season, they benched him, pulled him off the field, not because of injury, but because the meltdown was too loud to ignore any longer. That's not just a message to Tua. That's a message to the league. This team doesn't believe in him anymore. Yes, the Browns' defense is elite. But elite defenses don't explain staring down a linebacker and flicking it straight into his chest. They don't excuse skipping passes in the dirt on 3rd and short. This wasn't Tua being outmatched. This was Tua unraveling. And for a quarterback whose entire career has been haunted by questions about durability, consistency, even confidence, this stretch of games is quickly becoming the final chapter. Let's be honest, the one win Miami has this season, it feels like a fluke. The 6 losses feel like reality, and as painful as it is to say, Tua isn't rising to the occasion. He's sinking with the ship. Every snap, every miss, every pick adds fuel to a fire that one blockbuster trade just might extinguish. Because the Dolphins aren't just evaluating tape at this point, they're looking for a life raft. And if reports are true, that life raft has a name, and it's not Tua. It's not just the quarterback under fire. There's another man at the center of this collapse, and his name is Mike McDaniel. Remember when he was the guy? The quirky, hoodie-wearing, mic'd-up mastermind? The genius who turned Miami into the most exciting offense in football? Yeah, where is that guy now? Because what we're seeing on the sidelines this season isn't innovation. It's not leadership. It's not even competent. It's confusion, silence, and a face buried in a play sheet like he's praying the answers are hidden between the lines. To be clear, McDaniel didn't forget how to call plays overnight. But here's the cold reality. Once this team lost Tyreek Hill, once the turbo button was gone, McDaniel's entire system collapsed. It's not just that the Dolphins are losing. It's how they're losing. They look unprepared, outcoached, outadjusted. The same motion-heavy offense that once dictated games is now stale and predictable. The once dynamic schemes have turned into background noise movement for the sake of movement. The creativity's dried up. The swagger's gone. And the worst part? McDaniel looks completely out of answers. And while the media says his job is safe, don't fall for that narrative. Because in the NFL, when reporters say the head coach is safe, you know what that really is? The kiss of death. It's owner speak. It's PR damage control. It's the calm talk right before everything explodes. Just look at the facts. This is a playoff caliber roster. This team should be competing. Instead, they're 1-6, dead last in the AFC East, getting embarrassed by middle-of-the-road teams. If this slide continues, no number of funny press conferences or viral soundbites will save McDaniel's job. He's already been exposed. The offensive guru can't scheme around adversity. He can't win without his cheat code. And now with his quarterback imploding and a fan base turning, all signs point to one final gamble to hold onto his reputation and his job. Because what do disparity coaches do? They make desperate moves. And if this trade rumor is legit, if he's willing to roll the dice on a rookie who hasn't played a single NFL snap, then it's clear. McDaniel knows the house is burning down, and he's grabbing the fire extinguisher labeled Shad times R Sanders. This next move isn't just about fixing the offense. It's about fixing his legacy before it's permanently branded as the coach who got figured out, flamed out, and folded under pressure. If you haven't been paying attention to Shad times R Sanders, now's the time to start. Because right now, locked away on the bench in Cleveland, sits the most polarizing rookie quarterback in the entire NFL, and he hasn't played a single snap. Let that sink in. He's never taken a real pro rep. He's not the starter, he's not the backup. He's third string quietly stewing behind the scenes while the Browns try to convince the world they don't need him. But if you watched him in college, you know that's a lie. At Colorado State, Shad times R wasn't just good, he was video game good. He put up insane numbers. 4,300 plus passing yards, 37 touchdowns, and here's the kicker, a 74% completion rate. 74, that's surgical. That's elite accuracy in an era where most rookies dream of hitting 65. And before anyone says he was just a system quarterback, let's be real, this guy's arm talent is undeniable. He can hit deep outs, squeeze throws into tight windows, and when things break down, he makes magic happen. He plays with the kind of confidence you can't teach, and that's part of what makes him such a lightning rod. Because Shad times R, he's not soft-spoken. He doesn't talk like a backup. He carries himself like he belongs in primetime. He's flashy. He's vocal. He shows up to games rocking designer watches and diamond chains, and yeah, that rubs old-school coaches the wrong way. It's why he slid in the draft, not because of ability, because of attitude. Ask scouts behind closed doors, they'll admit it. They were scared of the attention, scared of the swagger, scared that he might be more Dion than Dak, that he'd be too much of a personality for a room full of grown men. So Cleveland took him, sat him down, and told the media they were developing him slowly. Translation? They shelved him. He's not getting backup reps. He's definitely not competing for the starting job. Because the Browns have already gone all in on a different guy, Gabriel, the quarterback they've decided is their future. And that makes Shad times R expendable. A Ferrari collecting dust in the garage. But to a team like Miami, starving for energy, desperate for a new identity, and staring down the barrel of another wasted season, Shad times R Sanders isn't an accessory. He's the fuse to the dynamite. And now, with just days left before the trade deadline, the question isn't whether Sanders is ready. It's whether the Dolphins are bold enough or desperate enough to light the match. This isn't a rumor cooked up by fans on Reddit. This didn't come from some random YouTube comment. This came from Doric Sam, a verified NFL insider with Bleacher Report, and what he's saying has the entire league on edge. Right after that 31-6 beatdown in Cleveland, while Dolphins fans were still picking their jaws off the floor, Sam dropped a report that shook Miami to its core. Let me read you the quote directly. The team is expected to clean house with a franchise-altering trade, and the most likely target is Cleveland Browns rookie quarterback Shad times R Sanders. Boom. That's not a light suggestion. That's not a keep an eye on this throwaway line. That is a direct shot at the panic button. According to Sam, Miami is preparing to blow it all up. And the new centerpiece? A QB who hasn't even taken a single NFL snap but has everyone talking. And it makes sense. Doric explained the whole scenario clearly. Cleveland is locking in on Gabriel as their long-term starter. They like his leadership. They like his game. He's safe, coachable, quiet. The anti-Sanders. So what happens to Shad times R? He becomes a strong trade chip. The Browns don't need two futures. They've made their decision. Gabriel's their guy, which means Shad times R is now just sitting there too talented to ignore and too flashy to sit. For a team like Cleveland, He's a headline risk. For a team like Miami, he's the perfect storm, an offense in freefall, a quarterback on the bench, a fan base boiling over, a head coach running out of excuses. Doric Sam wrote that teams like the Dolphins could surely use an influx of new energy. And let's be honest, that's the understatement of the year. The Dolphins don't just need energy, they need a lightning strike. And this isn't just smoke anymore. The timing, the fit, the desperation, it all lines up. The NFL trade deadline is November 4th. That gives Miami less than 2 weeks to make a decision that could redefine the next decade of their franchise. And Sam's report didn't stop there. He also mentioned that Tagovailoa's continued struggles could lead to major changes in Miami, especially with McDaniel remaining on the hot seat. You see where this is going, right? This isn't about testing the market. This is the nuclear option. A final, franchise-saving act that basically says, Tua's not the guy. McDaniel still has a plan. And Shedeur Sanders? He's the new face of the Miami Dolphins. Asterisk. Crazy? Maybe. But the crazier part is this might actually be the only move that makes sense. If this trade actually happens, if the Dolphins go all in on Shad times R Sanders, it's not just a quarterback switch. It's a franchise reset. A line in the sand. A message to the NFL, to the fan base, and especially to Tua Tagovailoa. It's over. You don't trade for Shad times R Sanders to let him sit. You don't bring in a lightning rod rookie with a bigger personality than half your roster just to shuffle some quarterback depth. No, if this happens, make no mistake, Shad times R is the starter. And what does that mean for Tua? It means his time in Miami is done. Full stop. Because you can't have both of them in the same room. You can't keep Tua around as a backup without turning the locker room into a circus. The media wouldn't shut up about it. The fan base would divide in half by the first bad pass. The coaching staff would have to answer awkward questions after every single drive. This isn't a quarterback competition. This is an eviction notice. You trade for Shad Vase's air. You're sending Tua a clear one-liner. Thank you for your service. Now pack your bags. Now let's talk about the domino effect. First, the Dolphins' offense gets a shockwave of energy. You inject youth, swagger, and a completely new dynamic into a stale, dying system. Suddenly, players are energized. The fan base has hope. The media flips from humiliating blowouts to front-page headlines. McDaniel? This move gives him a second chance. Right now, he's known as the guy who coached Tua straight into the ground, the guy who got exposed once Tyreek Hill left the field. But with Shad times R, he gets to control the narrative. He can say, the problem wasn't my scheme, it was the quarterback. Tua couldn't execute. Shad times R can. Even if they only win a couple games the rest of the season, he can spin it as step one of a reboot. He's now the bold coach, not the clueless one. And for the front office, this is a PR win. Because even if it fails, even if Shad times R flames out, at least they took a shot. That's something. You can sell that to a fan base. You can rebuild around that. But if they do nothing? If they ride out a 3-14 season with Tua, no direction, and a coach on fumes, that's a harder sell. That's empty seats. That's lawsuits from angry season ticket holders. Bottom line, this isn't just a football decision. It's a franchise survival moment. And with every neglected touchdown drive, every sideline stare from McDaniel, every turnover from Tua, the door opens a little wider. Shad times R Sanders isn't a rumor anymore. He's a symbol. A symbol of change, risk, and maybe even resurrection. Make no mistake, if this trade happens, it's not about the future. It's not about draft planning. It's not about developing a young quarterback. This is about one man trying to save his job. Mike McDaniel. Because right now, McDaniel isn't the genius we all thought he was. He's not the cool, swagger-filled brainiac the cameras loved. He's the coach sitting on a one-win record while his offense implodes and his quarterback collapses. He's the guy calling the wrong plays at the wrong time and getting outcoached by teams with half his talent. And in this league, you don't get many second chances. You start 1-6 with high expectations, you're toast. You miss the playoffs after selling the fan base championship dreams? You're packing boxes. But McDaniel knows that. That's why he's all in. That's why the rumors make total sense. Because bringing in Shad times R Sanders isn't just a coaching decision. It's a career-defining rabbit out of the hat. Right now, he's the coach who failed to fix Tua Tagovailoa. But if he brings in Shad times R, suddenly he's not the problem anymore. Tua was. It's a brilliant pivot if you think about it. He can walk into the owner's office, into the media room, hell, even into the locker room and say, "The system wasn't broken. The player was. But this new guy, Shad times R, he fits what I built. He can run it. He can save it." It buys him breathing room, not just for this season, but into 2026, because now everything changes. The rest of this disaster year transforms into phase 1 of the rebuild. And in that frame, losses don't hurt McDaniel, they become coaching development. He turns into the bold decision maker, the risk taker, the guy who did something, not the coach who sat back and watched everything crumble. And then there's the wild card. What if it works? What if Shad times R flashes, makes a few big-time throws, shows that burst of confidence this offense hasn't had since Tyreek went down? Even a single spark gives McDaniel something Tua no longer can: hope. And that's what all of this is about. Not certainty, not guarantees. Hope. Because a mysterious rookie with no NFL snaps is always more exciting than a broken quarterback with 10 picks and 0 confidence. It's the mystery box effect. Could be a star, could be a bust. But hey, it's not what you already know isn't working. McDaniel's been cornered. His back's against the wall. Now he's throwing one last Hail Mary, and that Hail Mary's name is Shedeur Sanders. Let's be clear, this isn't some clean, safe quarterback transition. This isn't drafting a rookie and letting him learn quietly on the bench. This is pure chaos. Trading for Shad times R Sanders is a move loaded with risk. He's never played a snap in an NFL regular season game. He's a backup to a backup buried on the Browns' depth chart. He's got a big name, a bigger personality, and 0 seconds of professional film. He could be a bust, plain and simple. He could walk into that Miami locker room, struggle with the playbook, ruffle feathers, throw bad balls, overhype himself into disaster, and add even more dysfunction to a franchise already leaking fuel. He's not tested, he's not polished, and he sure as hell doesn't do humble and quiet. And yet, what exactly are the Dolphins risking? Respectfully, what is there left to protect? They're 1-6. The offense looks like it's built out of cardboard. The defense is gassed. The head coach has lost the spark that got him hired. And the quarterback? He's melting down in real time. This season is already in the grave. The shovel's already dirtied. So ask yourself, what do you really lose by taking the shot? Are you afraid of hurting Tua's feelings? Are you worried about rushing a rookie when half the locker room's already mentally checked out? Are you scared he might struggle? And what? Ruin a 3-14 season? Come on. You're at rock bottom. And when you're at the bottom, the only direction left is up. And that's what Shad times R represents: upside. Not certainty, not comfort, but potential. A lightning bolt to reset the pulse of a lifeless football team. Because really, what's the alternative? Ride out the season with Tua and a broken offense, praying things magically click? Let your coach go down with the ship and start another painful rebuild in the offseason? That's not a strategy. That's surrender. But trading for Shad times R? That's a statement. That says, we're not going down quietly. That says, we'd rather swing for the fences than die in purgatory. That says, we're not afraid of the unknown, we're afraid of the status quo. And yeah, maybe Shad times R flames out. Maybe it's a total disaster, but at least you tried something. At least the fan base has something, anything, to feel buzz about again. At least the Dolphins are talking about the future and not just repeating the past. And sometimes, when you've got nothing left to lose, that's when the boldest decisions finally make sense.